Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh, and a very good afternoon to all of you. Thank you for joining us. Let me give you a warm welcome to our Ibrah Ramadhan program entitled Ramadan and Family, Chance to Change. I am Inas, the moderator for today's session. Before we start our very interesting topic today, let us all Muslims recite the Kitab Al-Fatihah. Amin, amin, ya Rabbal Alamin. Buah rambutan di dalam raga, duduk bersama buah pulasan. Bulan Ramadan, mata dijaga, tundukkan nafsu, tingkatkan amalan. Ladies and gentlemen, I now have the pleasure to invite Dr. Raudlotul Firdaus binti Fatah Yasin, Assistant Professor from Kuliah of Islamic Radio Knowledge and Human Sciences, IIUM, to deliver her tazkirah. Dear Doctor, please welcome.
Thank you very much to our moderator, Sister Nurul Shafinas Muhammad Rusaimi, our respectful Director of IIUM Academy, Deputy Directors, Heads, and Senior Assistant Directors, brothers and sisters, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I hope my voice can be heard clearly from the other side, inshallah. So first of all, I would like to thank the organizer, IIUM Academy, for inviting me for this Ramadan talk. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept this session for me, myself, as a mean to educate my soul. And for all of us who attended the program and pay attention, lend your ears to listen and to share your thoughts later on, inshallah, will be considered as an ibadah by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and will be granted with multiplied rewards, especially in this month of Ramadan, inshallah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Inshallah, I will try to present some ideas regarding the topic that has been assigned to me. And inshallah, we hope that this sharing moment or sharing session will benefit all of us, not just this Ramadan, but as well as the coming days and coming years after Ramadan. So I would like to share with you a topic on the pearls of wisdom in fasting of Ramadan, which will be cited from Risalah and Nur from the book of Al-Maktubat, and it is on the 29th letters and Nuktah Athania, the second letter. So the topic that was given by the organizer was Ramadan and Family, Chance to Change. So I keep thinking and pondering and contemplating how to change. And then I remember what has been mentioned by Imam Badiuzzaman Said Nursi in Risalah Nur, the book of Al-Kalimat, the second word. If you want to understand what great happiness and bounty, what great pleasure and ease are to be found in believing God, listen to this story, which is in the form of a comparison, which means that if we want to change, we want to be happy, you want to be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and enjoy this life, which is actually what everybody wants to be. This is the change that we want. We want a happier life. We want a sustainable life. So we need to change whatever which is yet to be sustained, whatever which is yet to be transformed into happiness. We have to work on it. So how to work on it? It depends on the way how we look into it. Is the worldview, is the perception, and it has been presented by Imam Badiuzzaman Said Nursi in a very beautiful story of two men. So that's how the world will change. It is actually not by changing the world around us, but it's by changing our own worldview and our own understanding, our own perception, which is based on the true faith of Allah, true belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he was telling the story of one time two men went out on a journey for both pleasure and business. one set off in a selfish, inauspicious direction, and the other on a godly, propitious way. So, both of them face the same events, the same situation, arrive at exactly the same place, the same country, and they are facing the same occasions right in front of their eyes, but the way they perceive those occasions, the way they judge the beauty of the country, the way they absorb the happiness or the sadness surrounding them is actually based on their faith. So the one which will change the world, will bring the happiness to ourselves, to our family, is the way how we look into it and the way how we strengthen our iman. So as an introduction, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala mentioned in the Quran about the wisdom and the specialty of the month of Ramadan, where he said that أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن is the month of Ramadan where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed in it the Quran, and the Quran has played its role as a huda linnas, as a hidayah for the human being, وَبَيِّنَاتٍ مِنَ الْهُدَى, and the explanation of that hidayah, wal furqan, and also a divider between the right and the wrong, the just and the unjust. So as we all know that the fourth pillar of Islam is fasting in the month of Ramadan, the one in which the Quran was revealed in solidarity with the poor and as a spiritual exercise, cultivating qualities of discipline, self-denial, and non-indulgence. This is in addition of the physical health and fitness that we will obtain while fasting in the month of Ramadan. But during our session today, we will focus more on the spiritual aspect, inshallah. This is the month in which Muslims abstain from food, drink, and sexual activity between dawn and dusk, and busy themselves with the practice of the divine remembrance, zikr, and reading and reflecting upon the Quran. So if we realize the session that we are organizing now, that we are holding right now, is actually one form of zikr, one form of divine remembrance, because our intention and our purpose of attending this talk is actually to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yet, it is also a month of material blessings and joy. This is what we are going to look into today, inshallah. Although we are talking about spirituality, but it does have relationship with the joy and happiness of the materials. And after dark, a festival month of gatherings of families and friends. So this is where we are going to make the change for ourselves and for our family as well as our friends. And through appreciation of the gift of food and drink, we are going to go through this in a very in-depth manner, inshallah, as much as possible within this limited 1 hour. As the hadith states, a person who fasts has two joys: joy when he breaks his fast, and joy when he meets his Lord. That is in the hereafter. All right. So as we all know that fasting is actually the third pillars of Islam, and we have 5 pillars there: testimony of faith, shahada, salah, saum, zakat, and hajj. And the benefits and wisdoms of fasting in Risalah An-Nur, which I have mentioned earlier, will be taken from Al-Maktubat. There are altogether 9 benefits. But due to the time constraint, I will be focusing only to the 6 benefits, while the 7th is actually the overall conclusion of the presentation, inshallah. So first of all, as we know, fasting is a natural symbol of Islam. It defines and reminds us of who we are. That is the rububiyyah of Allah. Number 3 is it has social life benefits between poor and rich, hungry and full. Number 4, it has spiritual health benefits, that is training the instinctual soul. So this is the very interesting part that will be put forward by Imam Badiuzzaman Said Nursi in a very attractive manner, inshallah, so that we can try to communicate with our own heart and our own soul within this session, inshallah. Number 5 is disciplining of nafs, that is evil commanding self. And number 6 is shattering the instinctual soul's imaginary dominicality and making known its worship. And 7, as I said, will be the conclusion, that is offering shukr. So before we begin the discussion, I would like to share a little bit about who is Imam Badiuzzaman Said Nursi, the author of the Risalah An-Nur. Okay, so this is the volume Al-Maktubat. Firstly, I read it from the Arabic version, and then I read the English version, and then later on, inshallah, I will read the Malay version when I will be delivering in other kulliyah in Malay, inshallah. So, who is Imam Badiuzzaman Said Nursi? He is a Turkish, okay, and he is known there as Ustad Badiuzzaman. He was a polymath or walking encyclopedia. Why? Because he mastered more than 80 knowledge and he memorized all of them. He memorized the Quran in just 1 month and he memorized thousands of hadiths. He's a very good memorizer, and at the same time, he also understood all disciplines of knowledge, regardless whether it is from revealed knowledge or nature, pure sciences knowledge. He excelled not only in the classical Islamic sciences, but also in the modern natural sciences. Therefore, we'll find the approach that he used in Risalah Nur can always communicate with our own heart. It is psychologically accepted by many people throughout the world because of his mastery of the modern natural sciences. He was a universal thinker of great exactitude, an erudite theologian of tremendous dignity, a brave voluntary commander in the service of freedom. He led 4,000 Muslims army under the Khalifa Ottoman Empire during that time against Russia, and he was the commander, means that he can fight very well. MashaAllah, he's a soldier. And a magnetic and vastly successful leader of the Muslim community within our contemporary secular setting. Okay, what makes his book interesting is because of the methodology that he used to convey their ideas is very suitable for those who are born in secular setting like us nowadays. Yeah, we are all born in the secular system with the secular mind setting, dichotomy between the revealed knowledge and the pure sciences. So he was born in 1877 in the village of Nurs in the Bitlis district of eastern Turkey. Nursi was a Sayyid or descendant of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, having traced his lineage to Hassan on the side of father and Hussein on the side of his mother, the grandchildren of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. All right, so we'll go to the first part, the first point, which is the first wisdom of fasting in the month of Ramadan, which can make change to ourselves and our family. First, we need to understand, and I believe you all understand that Saum or fasting is a natural symbol of Shi'ar of Islam. So when everybody talks about Islam, and it is a natural way of conveying the message of Islam to our friends, teachers, neighbors, and colleagues, we will mention and highlight about fasting in the month of Ramadan. It's like a flag. It's like a flag of a country. When you go to any certain places, any certain states, what differ that states from the others is the shi'ar, is the flag of that state. So that flag is the shi'ar, and the Saum, the fasting of 30 days in the month of Ramadan in every year is the shi'ar of Islam. Secondly, it defines and reminds us, okay, before we go to the second point, what we can see here is that this is how we want to educate ourselves, our family, about the nature of Saum itself. It is not a burden, or it is not a tradition. Okay, it is not a budaya whereby if you fast, you can celebrate Hari Raya. I mean, we don't put the condition that way. But it is actually a shi'ar whereby we as a Muslim, we will be very proud and very happy to practice and to show this shi'ar to the rest throughout the world, because as how you feel proud and happy when you hold the flag of your own state, this is how we should be happy and excited when we are facing the month of Ramadan. So this kind of understanding need to be instilled in the minds of our children, in the minds of the youth, or maybe in the minds of our new converts, new Muslim reverts, our new mu'allaf, to make them feel happy and excited in holding the flag and the shi'ar of Ramadan as a month of fasting. Okay, so now we increase our what do we call it? Our traditional practice in fasting in the month of Ramadan. This time we add on the feeling of happiness and excitement, because this is the shi'ar of Islam and we want to show it throughout the world. Not to show off ujub or riya. What I mean here is to be proud of it and to be happy of it. Then it will bring happiness to ourselves, to our children, and our family. Secondly, it defines and reminds us of who we are, okay, or the concepts of rububiyah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or in another word, to recognize and to have the feeling that Allah is the Rabb, Allah is the Lord, and we are a servant, we are the slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why do we have to discuss this? Because human being by its nature, they always forget about this reality. We always tend to not remember that we are only a servant here. We are only a slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that we have nothing other than what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. Without whatever ni'mah, pleasures that He have lent to us, what that He has granted to us, we are actually nothing at all. So this is the concept that we would like to ponder upon, we would like to contemplate, within the month of Ramadan, who we are and who is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the month of Ramadan, fasting, it defines and reminds us of who we are. Rububiyah of Allah. Allah decorates this world like a massive feast table. As you can see in the picture, in the visual, in the illustration, throughout the world, all Muslims that exist in these places will be facing the food right in front of them before the azan of Maghrib for the breakfast, and also before the azan of Subuh for the sahur. And this happened automatically, systematically, and well organized throughout the world, exactly at the same time, that is before Fajr and before Maghrib. MashaAllah. So this is like a decoration, right? If we try to visualize all the food that will be consumed by those who are going to break their fast or who are going to perform their sahur, then we will see that kind of world map, that kind of fruits map. The whole world will be filled with fruits. So it's like a massive feast table, like Imam Badiuzzaman Said Nursi said. This never happened. It never happened except in the month of Ramadan. And everybody waits for azan like a great army waiting for commands. As we can see in the picture, this is iftar jama'i before the COVID-19, of course. So we are sitting in line together with the same food and the same meals, and we are waiting for the right time when the azan come to break the fast. If you compare the situation of all Muslims throughout the world, waiting in front of their meals for them to break the fast, it is almost like the same situation of an army waiting for the command. Where is the command? The azan. So when the azan comes, there is a command of Allah to take the food, to consume it, and to break that fast. So here we can have a belief, we can have a feeling. Right in front of us is the food. We can just take it before azan, but why don't we take it? Because the rule and regulations stated that you can only break the fast when the azan of Maghrib is announced. So who is actually controlling the azan? Who is actually putting this kind of rules and regulation and setting it to all Muslims throughout the world, having the same rules and regulation? It is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we can imagine that feeling whereby the food is right in front of us, but we couldn't consume it because we realize that we are obliged to obey the command of Allah, that is to wait until the azan Maghrib. Okay. The third wisdom of the fasting in the month of Ramadan is social life benefits. This is widely been discussed outside there. And this can also make a change and reformation towards ourselves and our family if it is truly practiced. So what does it mean by truly practice social life benefits? Actually, Imam Badiuzzaman Said Nursi highlighted on the urgency and the importance of paying the zakah, especially from the rich to the poor. This is how the money will be distributed. For the unlucky and the unfortunate, this is the right time for them to have the pleasure, to feel the happiness, to share some portion of ni'mah, some portion of money and treasures that Allah SWT has granted to some people in this world, because it is part of the sunnatullah to create different status levels and societal dignity, or what do we call it, society, or the society level of the persons, which also differs in terms of their financial income. So some are rich, some are poor, some are intermediary. Majority are what we call as the intermediary people throughout the world, The rich are actually very little in number right now in our modern time. Why? Because the zakah was not implemented according to its original rules and regulations. So with the capitalist system that we have nowadays, those who have money, they can just put their money as an investment, and they don't need to do anything. They don't need to work. They will just need to wait for their monthly income through the profit that they obtain out of their investments. So the more money they have, the richer they will be. While those who work very, very hard become the laborers, yeah, working from day till night, they will never be able to be rich. So this is the implications of the capitalist system, and this is what has not been taught in Islam. And actually, the month of Ramadan is a time for us to improve that situation, whereby every Muslims are compulsory to pay zakat fitrah. Yeah, the zakat is very, very beneficial actually to the Muslims, whether we realize it or not. Don't just look at the blames and accuses towards zakat outside there. And people keep on accusing, where is zakat money, where is zakat money? But actually, we got list of answers, yeah, where those zakat money goes. I myself used to receive zakat when I was a student in IIUM. There are so many students outside there used to receive zakat. I mean, those so many people like me outside there who used to receive zakat when we were in Al-Azhar University, when we were in the Middle Eastern countries, we were supported by zakat. And when I was an IIM student, I was also supported by zakat. So zakat plays an important role to ensure that the success of the ummah. Yeah, perhaps without the zakat, I might not be able to pay the first semester uh, tuition fee, and that will cause my failure in my study. So this is what related to social life benefits actually, to create the awareness within ourselves and our hearts. Zakat is so important. Don't just wait for the zakat fitrah, which is very cheap for everyone, but also focus and emphasis on the zakat al-mal, zakat income, because the money that you spend there will goes to the right people, to the asnaf. You do not know, maybe those receiving the money that you have spent for the zakat will be our future leader for the ummah, will be the one who will reform the Islamic system in the whole world, mashallah. Who knows, right? Who knows, because the barakah of the zakat. So it has social benefits for the poor and rich, for the hungry and full, for the hungry, for the poor, for the rich, for them to understand what is the feeling of those who are poor. There was an example of a story of the Queen of France after the First World War, where many people went bankrupt. They have no money, and many people were hungry in the street, begging and asking for money. So this issue has been raised to the Queen, yeah, so that the Queen will think about how to help them or pay some attentions towards the situation of the French people during that time. So what was her response? Because she never fast, okay, and she also never feel poor, never face any poverty before, never feel hungry. Food is always there in the palace. Her response was to say that, what happened to the people in the street? Why are they begging a lot? Then the person responded by saying that they are hungry. They don't find even one single bread. So what was the queen's response? She said, if they don't find the bread, why don't they find a cake? Okay, to replace the bread with a cake. She couldn't imagine that when the bread, which is the simplest food, yeah, which is the cheapest one that could be afforded by poor people, and they couldn't afford it to the extent that they have to beg for money, they have to ask for help. This indicates they are in a very extreme poverty. But a person who never feel hunger, who never face such situation, would not be able to understand it and try to compare between the bread and the cake. If you cannot get the bread, let alone getting the cake, isn't it? All right. And then this is what we want to instill within ourselves. It is empathy for the less privileged. So when we feel hungry, brothers and sisters, not just to complain, ya Allah, hungry. Okay, our children especially, yeah, the youth, the very young primary schools, when we start to train them, normally they will say, I'm very hungry, I'm very thirsty, I'm suffering. For example, if they are really suffering, let them pass, yeah, because we don't want to harm them. But if we know that this is just a, what do we call it? It's just an ordinary complaint. We can try to educate them by telling them that let's have the empathy for the less privileged. Imagine those refugees in Syria, in Gaza, how much they beg. They don't even know whether they can have food for their breakfast, and they could not even dream whether they are going to have food for their sahur. They are just relying on the help and assistance from the people donating to them throughout the world. So this is also another campaign for us. In the month of Ramadan, we have to multiply our effort, our contribution, and our donations to the needy one. Then, inshallah, number 4, okay, spiritual health benefits. Training the instinctual soul. The instinctual soul wants to be free and independent. Now we are talking to our heart. Let's look into our heart. We have discussed about the external part, the physical aspect. Now let's go into ourselves. Let's imagine now we are communicating with our own soul. So when we ask ourselves, when we ask our heart, we would normally discover that our heart loves to be free and independent. We don't want to be controlled by anyone, right? Let's check who among us here who is happy to be controlled rather than having full freedom. No one, right? All of us naturally want to be free and want to be independent and considers itself to be thus. And to the extent when we forget to remind ourselves that we are not having total freedom, we are not totally independent because we are actually dependent to Allah, having the fact that we are the servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, sometimes we might be astray to the way, to the situation where we consider ourselves is actually free and independent. Means we are not stick to any kinds of rules and regulations, or we don't have any master, or we don't have any authority to have control above us, on us. According to the dictates of its nature, it even desires an imaginary dominicality and to act as it pleases. Yeah, if it asks our hearts, yeah, if you look into the nature of human being, we have the natural desire and imagination whereby it's dominant to us sometimes, whereby we want to add whatever we please. Although sometimes we know that it is haram, but in certain situation, it has been dominant into ourselves that we still perform or committed that haram things. Why? Because that's the natural desires of human being. It does not want to admit that it is being sustained and trained through innumerable bounties. Whereby if we ask ourselves, do you like all these kind of rules and regulation? But actually the soul will say, no, I don't like it. Because you want to be free. Do you like to refrain yourself from eating and drinking throughout the day until Maghrib, especially under the hot, shining day? We are lucky if you are in the air condition, we are under the air conditioned situation. What about those outside there? Farmers, yeah, mechanics, carpenters, is a very challenging job. So when we ask ourselves, when we ask our desire, of course we don't like all these kind of controls, yeah, and we want to go to, do we want to reach to the endless objective or endless dream, even the most impossible dream, we still want to have it, we still want to attain it, we still want to achieve to that level. Yeah, for example, perhaps let's say I myself, maybe I am not, I will not be able to have my personal jet, for example. Okay, I can purchase ticket for flight, yes, inshallah, for international conference, for example. But I wish to have a personal jet, which is impossible for me to have it within my financial capacity, and ability. But if I ask myself, I would say yes. If someone wants to offer me personal jet, I would like to have some. I would like to have one. All right. So you may ask yourself. Now, let's ask your soul. What is the thing that you wish and you know it's impossible to achieve it, but you really want it? Okay. There must be something, right? There must be an answer in your heart. This is to indicate how much our desire, yeah, has no bounties, especially if it possesses worldly wealth and power. especially rich people, those who have power, the director, for example, yeah, the rector, for example, the prime minister, the president, whoever has a large power, of course, the desire will be more. But they have to manage it. And if heedlessness or ghafla here means uh, apa tu lalai, alpa, yeah? Heedlessness. I don't know how to say it in other word, also encourages it. Yeah, for example, if this desire is not controlled and it is supported by the ghafla, the state of not remembering Allah SWT, it is encouraging it. It will it will consume God's bounties like a usurp, usurping, or seizing, thieving animal. In another word, what is meant by Imam Said Nursi is, if we didn't control that kind of desire and then it is supported by the ignorance, yeah, then we will, na'uzubillahi min dhalik, cross the bounty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We become like a thief, like the animal. When they want to steal the food, they will just take it. So there where we see people started to question Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, questioning the qada and qadar Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why this happened to me? Why I have to face this? Is this just for me? Where is Allah? Where is God? Why I have to face all these difficulties? So actually, this is a level whereby the person has already lost, yeah, the control towards their own desire, their minds, and then supported with their ignorance, and they lost the hope, they lost the belief, they lost their mind, and started to indulge in such difficult situation. Thus, in the month of Ramadan, the instinctual soul of everyone, from the richest to the poorest, may understand that it does not own itself, but is totally owned. So, because of the fasting, yeah, we have to refrain ourselves from doing all the prohibited things by Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. We realize whether we are rich or poor, or the richest one or the poorest one, that we are actually not owning ourselves. Yeah, we don't own ourselves, and that it is not free, but it is a slave. We are actually a slave and servant of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. It understands that if it receives no command, it may not do the simplest and easiest thing. It cannot even stretch out its hand for water. We realized that while fasting, we couldn't stretch our hand just to take one bottle of water. Like I put the picture of refrigerator here. Yeah, you see the fresh milk there. It's very delicious, but we couldn't stretch our hand to take it because we know we are a slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we have been commanded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to never consume it during the day. Its imaginary dominicality or malika is therefore shattered. It performs its worship and begins to offer thanks, its true duty. So while having this in our heart, while having this awareness within our mind, then we start to say, thank you, Allah, for this ni'mah. I try myself to obey you. I know this is a beautiful feeling, although it is a test, but I know the reward is there. I am happy to do this. I'm happy to perform this, Ya Allah, to refrain my lust, to refrain my desire from doing something or committing against what you have set us and you have said not to do it. All right. So this is how we talk to our heart. And it is not just necessary about the fasting. We can also talk to our heart with regard to other matters, with regard to getting money, for example, with regard to promotion, for example, right? With regard to obtaining whatever we want. Some people, they really want to, travel abroad, but now due to COVID-19, they have to refrain themselves and stay in the hostel, for example, for students. Yeah? We don't have the face-to-face class. We remain in our hostel, facing the same laptop every day. It is a test. Yeah, it is a test because we know it is against our desire to be in prison all the times. But when we realize that we are only a servant and slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have no right to alter, yeah, this determination of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this decision of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, testing us with COVID-19 pandemic, and we have no power to eliminate it. We have no mechanism to stop it. then what else we can do other than obeying the command of Allah and Rasulullah, whereby the Prophet said in his hadith to stay away from the states or the places where there is wabak, pandemic. We don't go inside the place, or if we are inside the place, we never travel abroad. See, this is the sunnah of this Prophet. So our MCO is actually to train ourselves, to try to educate our desires. Though we love freedom, nobody loves to be in prison. We love freedom, but now it is the setting that Allah Subhanahu wa Taala has decided. We can accept it, inshallah, and we will enjoy it, inshallah. Yeah, try to, absorb this feeling and understanding, and inshallah, you will discover the good thing behind it, inshallah. Yeah. Number 5 is disciplining of nafs, evil commanding self, giving up its rebellious habits. Now, this is almost the last one, before the last one. So, fasting will discipline our nafs. Now, we are going to talk about this in detail. That our nafs has evil commanding self, whereby we know shaitan is now tied up. Yeah, they are now, we can say they are in prison, but not in the prison, but they are being tied based on the hadith sahih from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The scholars are discussing outside that. Yeah, is it physically being tied, or spiritually, mentally, psychologically being tied, or how is it? So there are different views among the scholars. We would like to cite some of them, although we are not going to indulge, or we are not going to involve in that discussion too much, because it is part of ghaibiyat, the unseen nature that we don't see, and it is only made known to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. Some said they are physically tied. Some others said no, it is not that they're physical being tied by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the month of Ramadan, but it is their effort being limited to disturb the human being and whispers to the human being. However, the second view is weaker as compared to the former, and majority scholars said they are physically being tied. But remember that we also have qarin, and qarin is part of jinn. Jinn are general, they're shaitan, iblis, and then as well as qarin, as well as the Muslim jinn and the kafir jinn. The kafir and Muslim jinn are not tied. Those who are tied are shaitan, iblis, isn't it? And then the shaitan and iblis has been educating and dealing with our desires and our nafs throughout the year, in exception the month of Ramadan. So with their kind of continuous training and education, a very intensive education of 11 months in a year, they might be able, or they might be successful in influencing the development of our soul and our heart. Therefore, our nafs, which has went through that 11 months education, na'udzubillah, not us, for those who are ignorant, who disbelieve in Allah, who does not want, who does not try to put effort to get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who has been following their lust and desire throughout the life, they might face difficulties to control all this in just 1 month of Ramadan, because of the education received by lust and by their soul and by their heart. So here, this is the greatest opportunity for all of us to grab the chance. How we can manage that heart, how we can manage that nafs, that desire, which has been exposed to the disturbance and the whispers, influences, negative influences of the shaitan throughout the month. In this specific month of Ramadan, Allah is very merciful. Allah gave us a chance for the whole month that we don't need to face double challenge of their whispers, but then we are only educating the heart and managing the qarin. All right. Due to its heedlessness. Now we refer back to the nafs. The nafs is ghafla. The human soul forgets itself. So that's why human being can be found of forgetting themselves. They forget about their reality. They forget about who they are, their role, their responsibility towards this life, towards their family, and also towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It cannot see its utter powerlessness, want, and deficiency, and it does not wish to see them. Sometimes when we try to bring the attention of our heart to discuss about this soul, to discuss about our own desire, there will be an automatic what do we call it, reflection to go against it. That's why sometimes it's difficult, to talk about heart. We need the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We always pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to open our heart, to let us see what is wrong within our heart, not what is wrong within our physical appearances that can be seen easily in front of the mirror. But what is inside there is more critical, more crucial, and more dangerous, more tricky because we couldn't see them easily. And then whenever we try to put effort, to understand it, there is always something that we try to close it, to bring us apart and take distance from it. Because the moment where we can discover who we are and what is our heart about, then that is the time where we have discovered our mazmumah. So when we discovered our mazmumah, that is the door where we are going to improve it. So this is what the shaitan doesn't want it. Yeah, the lust and desire doesn't want it, because they want to ensure the person will continuously be in heedlessness, okay, ignorance. It does not think of just how weak it is, yeah? And how subject to transience, to transience. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce it properly here, and to disasters, nor of the fact that it consists merely of flesh and bones which quickly decay and fall apart. This is human being. Yeah, human being, sometimes when we know that we are weak, we try to deny it because we don't like to think about that. We don't like to accept the idea that we are getting weaker, for example. We are getting older because we want to remain young, right? We want to stay healthy all the time. Sometimes we ignore it, we put it aside, whereby this is very important so that we could always realize that our flesh, our bones are all temporary and it will quickly decay and fall apart. We will be old, we'll be getting old, and we'll get sick, and we'll become weak, and finally it fall apart, will pass away. The reality that many try to deny it, having the fact that we all will die, but when the remembrance of death coming, they try to deny it. So this is the desire. This is the souls. But we will have to work hard. We have to try to absorb. I mean, we have to try to contemplate and try to defeat that kind of desire, and reminding ourselves that you are just temporary. You are not immortal. You will leave this world. What do you want from this life, right? What kind of pleasures you want to achieve, especially if that pleasures can be obtained by committing sins. Na'udzubillahi min dhalik. Simply, it assaults the world as though it possessed a body made of steel and imagine itself to be undying and eternal. I mean, human being, if you talk to our soul, sometimes we thought that our body is made of steel. We are bionic man, bionic woman, Superman, Superwoman, etc. That's why you also have the Avengers movie, the Spider-Man, all those stuff is actually the imagination of human being, which is related to their desire to have a very strong, extraordinary body, even to become immortal. So it holds or it throws itself on the world with intense greed and voracity. So when the person is in this situation, that will let the person into the feeling of greedy, to the greedy of what? To have and to master and to own all the pleasures around them, all the pleasures that is available in this world, and passionate attachment and love. Sometimes it becomes also extreme in their love. Yeah, because of love, people dare to commit sin, for example, the LGBT, yeah, and etc. It is captivated by anything that gives it pleasure or that profits it. So the person who always follow their desires are actually among those who are imprisoned, yeah, by their own pleasure, which they thought will profit them. Yeah, they thought that by committing such sins, I will feel enjoy. I will enjoy myself. By drinking alcohol, I enjoy myself. Doing rashwa, I will get the job that I want. For example, bribe, rashwa, right? Or by cheating, I can get a better maybe position, yeah, in the among the people, for example, in the society, for example. I mean, all these are the pleasures that they thought will profit them, but actually it is only a desire. Moreover, it forgets its creator. So normally, When the soul reach to this level, they will forget their creator, who sustains it with perfect compassion. They forgot about Allah, the one who sustained that soul, the one that sustained that physical. Yeah, and He is the most perfect and the most compassion. He has mercy, He has love, and whatever He has given us is the result of His love. Why do they have to commit wrongdoings to obtain more than what Allah has given them, and does not think of the consequences of his life and his life in the hereafter? So these people who has been following their desires and lusts in committing the wrongdoings, thinking that they are gaining the profit, actually have forgot about the consequence and the results of that action. Not just in the hereafter, as a Muslim, we keep saying about the punishment and the rewards in the hereafter, isn't it? But it is also the consequences in this world, in this life. Because a person who keep committing haram, who keep doing the prohibited things in Islam, normally will not find peace in their hearts, not even in their minds. How much money they obtain, how much position they attain, and whatever rewards they obtain in this life will not make them happy. There must be something, what do we call it, unfortunate feeling within their hearts, unhappiness, or crisis of the heart, and to the extent they might be stressful with whatever pleasures that they have obtained, because those pleasures were obtained in the wrong manner, not following the right path. Indeed, it wallows in dissipation and misconduct hearts. That is. So the best example to be shared, yeah, for this part, if when you look at those countries which has the highest number of committing suicide in the world, right? The highest is Japan, isn't it? And then Korea. Are there country from the among the poverty? I mean, among the poor countries in the world? Are they among the lowest level of income per capita in the world? No, they're not. Right? They have all the worldly pleasures. They have the money, they have the system, they have the technology and everything. But what is lacking is the happiness within the heart. Okay. So what we can say here, however, yeah, the relationship with the fasting in Ramadan is the fasting awakens even the most heedless and obstinate to their weakness, impotence, and want. I mean, it likes waking us up. It's like a reminder for us not to continuously in that heedless ignorance, and to realize that we are weak. And of course, we are weak actually, but most of the time, as mentioned earlier, we forgot that we are weak. We are also important. We are ajaz. We are in need of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at all time. We are da'if, right? We don't have Superman in this world. That's just in the movie. But in the real life, at many times we are da'if and we need help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we also have want, we also have desire, which only Allah can fulfill it when He allow it. So hunger makes them think of their stomachs and they understand the need therein. So when we feel hungry, we feel thirsty, we know that we don't have the power to consume the food because we know that it is not allowed for us. And those who purposely go against the law and the rule will what? Will face the punishment. Might be in this world, but definitely in the hereafter, there will be the promised punishment by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for those who purposely break the fast with no reason. So here we feel because of our stomach, it makes us remember that we are only a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They realize how unsound are their weak bodies and perceive how needy they are for kindness and compassion. Sometimes we know that we are very tired, right? At that moment, yeah, normally we will choose not to break the fast, isn't it? Because we know that we still have some strength, and we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who give this command, and definitely He will take care of us. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will never give a command, will never issue any order that will cause harm to humanity at large. It never happened. Whatever He asks us to do, there must be benefits for all of us. There must be advantages, yeah, and it is useful to our body, our physical, and our spiritual. It's just the matter how we recognize it, how we realize it, and then how we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us strength. Right? We say, Ya Allah, I'm hungry. Ya Allah, please give me strength. Isn't it? Ya Allah, I'm thirsty. Ya Allah, give me patience. Isn't it? So because of that, it brings us back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to realize how compassion is Allah and how kind is Allah. So they abandon the soul sparrow like. Okay, we have the terms here, soul sparrow like. What is that? Is a pharaoh Fir'aun. If you remember, the story is in the Quran, and there are many pharaoh actually, but the most famous one is the Ramses. That's doesn't mention the name Ramses in the Quran, but the one man in the Quran drowned in the sea chasing Musa alayhi salam was Ramses, right? So uh, a person who always abandon their soul is just like the pharaoh, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given him all kind of pleasures that the humans want. He has the money, he has the treasure, he has the power, he has the health. He never gets sick in his life. MashaAllah. Yeah, he never falls sick in his life. How much advanced the medical technology during that time, to the extent that he was able to sustain his health, and of course with the wills of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then he become a soul sparrow like. Yeah, I mean, he believed that he's the God. So any of us, na'udzubillah min dhalik, any of the human being other than him who have that kind of belief, then they become like the soul sparrow like. Despotism and recognizing their utter importance, ya Allah, mata tak nampak. And one perceive a desire to take refuge at the divine court. Pharaoh, or despite his arrogance, despite his power, despite the strength that he has, what happened to him when he was about to drown in the sea, in the middle of the sea? He said he is the God, isn't it? But when he himself is in a very emergency critical situation, whereby he realized nobody can help him, the huge army and the soldiers that were coming with him, with the horses and with the weapons to chase Musa and his people who were running away from Egypt, were all drowned in the sea, and he himself is about to drown in the middle of the sea. He knows nobody will able to help him. His natural feelings, natural instinct started to control the situation and started to realize that he is actually not a god, but there is another God that is superior and super powerful, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's the moment where he start to return to Allah and asking help from Allah, begging from Allah to protect him and to save him from drowning in the middle of the sea. So we human beings, sometimes we are tested with an extraordinary tribulations or challenges, which is very difficult for us to manage it, to carry it. Is a huge burden on our shoulder. Yeah, to the extent we might think of, we might have the thought of not being alive in this world. The story is in Surah Maryam herself. She herself has that kind of thought when she faced the pain of labor, being alone, not just about delivering baby. No, not. I know it's very painful. I have delivered 6 times. Alhamdulillah, it's no 7 times. Pass away, but not just about the extreme pain faced by a mother who is in the state of delivering a child, a baby in the laboratory, but on top of everything, she was also mentally tested. She was alone, all alone under the tree, yeah, under the dead tree. Nobody's helping us, helping her. She has no husband. She is not even married, and she's still a virgin. Now she has to deliver the baby. How much painful is that? Yeah, that is an extreme pain of her physical, of her mental, psychological, soul. Everything is in a pain. Yeah, it is in a difficult situation. There she come the idea. Ya laytani mittu qabla hada wa kuntu nasyan mansiya. I wish I already passed away, so that I will not have this feeling. I don't remember whatever I'm facing right now is too painful for me, right? So if Mariam can have that kind of feeling, we as an ordinary human being, in certain situations, we might be tested with that kind of feeling. And that is actually the right time for us to return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is the best time for us to refer to the authority, to the real sustainer, to the real creator, to the one who owns everything, the one who decides everything, the one who designed the qada and qadar, the one who has stated that this is going to happen to us. And he is also the one who will provide the solution when the time comes. So ask him, pray, beg from him, Ya Allah, please let me out of this problem. You are the one who allow this problem to test me as an indicator that you really love me, Ya Allah. I am very thankful to you for your remembrance to me, though I am only an ordinary servant of you. But then, Ya Allah, I am not that strong to carry this burden. I am not that patient to continuously carry these challenges and tribulations. I couldn't face it anymore, Ya Allah, and you know me better. Please help me, Ya Allah. Yeah. Please solve this problem, Ya Allah. Please provide the best solution for me, Ya Allah. Allah is the most hearing. And don't forget, if we think that the problem is not solved yet, then remember, actually Allah SWT is preparing for the better for all of us. He knows that actually we still have the strength within our heart. He knows that we still have the capacity and ability to face that situations. Therefore, He continue testing us. Need to have that kind of belief deep inside our heart so that we can sustain this life, we can continue struggling, inshallah. And this month of Ramadan is a very best period for us to educate ourselves and for us to communicate with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, so they prepare themselves to knock at the door of mercy with the hands of thankfulness. Yeah? We bring our hand, put up our hand, yeah? Say shukr to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, alhamdulillah for everything, and then ask for His mercy. Asking His help is actually asking His mercy. The more we ask, the more we beg, the happier He will be, the more glad He will look at us as His servant. So long as heedlessness has not destroyed their hearts, that's it. And finally, shattering the instinctual soul's imaginary dominicality and making known its worship. The instinctual soul does not want to recognize its sustainer. Yeah, if we ask our heart and deep inside our heart, I'm not asking you to say it loudly, but just ask your heart. Do we actually want to be controlled by a sustainer? Do we actually want to be observed, to be commanded, to be given order from time to time? Yeah, the soul will answer they actually does not want it. It wants its own lordship like Pharaoh. Of course, we actually, the desire said, I want to control myself. Yeah, like just Pharaoh considering himself as a god. That's why we see the philosophy and the ideology of humans' right, which is actually against the Aqidah. Humans' right is because they want to focus whatever humans happy, whatever humans want, then that is their right. So if they want to, na'uzubillah, to commit the sinful act of LGBT, then that is their right. If they don't want to perform the salah, then that is their right. If they want to watch porn, that is their right. We couldn't touch about it. We couldn't say anything about it because it is a human's right. Yes, if you ask the nature of the soul, that's what human wants, like a pharaoh. But is that the right one? Is that what God wants? Is that what Allah wants? However much torment it suffers, it retains that vein. Hunger, however, destroys it. Okay, so if a person uh, is tested by a lot of pleasures, they will tend to forget about the creator and the sustainer, and they will want to be more freedom and want to obtain more power from time to time, and it will be difficult to control them, like Pharaoh, right? However, when we are tested with the hunger during our fasting in Ramadan, it will destroy that desire because we are fully controlled by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even if we are all alone right in front of the refrigerator, we know we are not going to consume any food and any drink because we are observed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. See, we are going against our lust and our own desire. So it is automatically destroying the lust and desire. Hence, fasting in Ramadan strikes direct blows at the soul's pharaoh-like front. MashaAllah. It's like a direct blows into the soul, in that pair of light soul in our heart. Everybody has that kind of soul, yeah? Whether it is light or a lot, na'uzubillah, inshallah, for all of us, it might be a very small part of it, shattering it. It demonstrates its importance, weakness, and want. It makes it realize that it is a slave. Yeah? Finally, we realize, after all, we are not going to eat food, we are not going to drink, because we are just a slave, and then we are now receiving command of Allah to remain patient and refrain ourselves from eating and drinking until Maghrib. So among the narrations of Hadith is the following. There is a story from the Hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, which is also interesting to be pondered and contemplated. God Almighty said to the instinctual soul. So there is one event whereby Allah SWT was communicating with the instinctual soul. What am I and what are you? The soul replied, I am myself and you are yourself. This is Ananya. So the soul, yeah, he doesn't want to recognize Allah as a God, but he wants to say, I am me and you are you. So he punished it and cast it into the hell. So that soul, that instinctual soul, was taken by Allah and thrown into the hellfire and being punished there. Then after a duration, then it was taken out and brought back in front of him, then asked it again. Again it replied, I am myself and you are yourself. How arrogant, see? Because of that is the instinctual soul, the distinct, the desire, the lust. However, he punished it. It did not give up its egoism. Finally, he punished it with hunger. And finally, instead of punishing in the hellfire, Allah punished it with hunger. Doesn't give any food to consume. That is, he made it go hungry. Then again, he asked it, who am I and who are you? And the soul replied, you are my compassionate sustainer and I am your important slave. So the weakness and the strength of human being lays at the stomach, mashallah. When we are tested with hunger, then we started to sharpen our mind, right? And then purify our heart, and then cleansing our actions and deeds, so that it will be blessed by Allah and the rest in front of around us. So the conclusion is offering shukr. Fasting in the month of Ramadan encourages us to worship more and be aware of the significance of the blessings in our lives. We remember now we are hungry, we are thirsty, but yet we still have to perform the salah. And this will actually encourage us to know that if I can perform the salah in the month of Ramadan, although I'm thirsty and I'm hungry, why not I perform it more if it is other the month of Ramadan? See, it increase our shukr. Yeah, we will remember how it is a pleasure, yeah, to drink and eat at any time you want, other than the month of Ramadan. But now we cannot do it. So we'll be grateful to Allah SWT for all the ni'mah and pleasures that He has rewarded us throughout the year, those 11 months other than Ramadan. Allahumma salli wa sallim ala Sayyidina Muhammad salatan takunu laka ridaan wa lihaqqihi adaan بعدد ثواب حروف القرآن في شهر رمضان وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. With that, I pass the microphone to the moderator and MC today. Thank you very much.
Alhamdulillah. And thank you, Doctor, for the meaningful tazkirah. Okay, so now we would like to open for the Q&A session now. If you have any other question, you can unmute your microphone and introduce yourself. While waiting for the question, I will read the question that we received in the chat box. So, we have one question, Ustazah. Ustazah, macam mana nak konsisten terutama bab ibadah sunat seperti solat sunat bukan hanya pada bulan puasa sahaja? Itu soalan dia.
Okay, just relate with the last point that I have shared with you about the shukr part. So if during this month of Ramadan, we can perform the sunnah prayer, although we are actually in a weak state of physical, especially our physical, is we are hungry, we are thirsty, but still we can perform the sunnah, isn't it? So let alone be other than Ramadan, where we are energized with all the food that we consume, the drink, yeah. So what prohibit us from performing better in the other months? if we are stronger, we are healthier, for example, right? We are not tested with hunger. So let's stick. Let's set the intention and a firm objective. A firm decision, azam, yeah, that we really want to reform ourselves in this month of Ramadan, and we want to ensure that this reformation is not just for the purpose of this month and for the purpose of getting Lailatul Qadar, for example, but we have further target that is to ensure that we will be graduated as a better graduates in the field of ibadah and in the state of a true devoted servant of Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala. So when you have this intention, yeah, it will bring you 1/3 of the success. Means that after the Ramadan, inshallah, we will try to be istiqamah. Set that intention as well to be istiqamah. So that is another 1/3 of success. Imam Nawawi said, niyah, intention is a 1/3 of the success. The other 1/3 is your effort. And the last 1/3 is the qada and qadar of Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala. So just make sure that we set the right intention, the right mind setting, and then always pray to Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala to give us the strength, and we will be able to be istiqamah. Have the husnul zan, yeah, towards Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala, because Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala will emulate or will follow the zan, our perception towards Him. The better perception we have towards Him, and the better He will reward us, inshallah. Okay, I hope I answered that question.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much, Ustazah. So, any other questions? You can unmute your microphone and introduce yourself. Any other question? Okay, so I think there is no more questions. Okay, so we have come to the end of the program. Before we leave, kindly fill in the evaluation form within 24 hours after the program to be eligible for the CTD points. And also, for the latecomers, you can still visit our YouTube channel, IIUM Academy, for today's replay session. Okay, so we would like to record our utmost gratitude to our speaker, Dr. Raudlotul Firdaus, for her time, knowledge, and experience shared with us today. Okay, so we will be conducting 3 more episodes every Thursday. Stay tuned for the updates and don't forget to subscribe our YouTube channel and follow us at social media account at IIUM Academy. Okay, so we would like also to apologize in any inconvenient caused. Okay, pokok keladi di tepi paya, tumbuh bersama pohon pegaga. Selamat berpuasa untuk semua. Semoga amalan bertambah pahala. With that, let's end this session with Surah An-Nas. Amin, amin, ya Rabbal Alamin. Thank you, everyone, and we wish you Salam Ramadan al-Mubarak. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm sorry for any shortcomings from my part.
Okay, Dr.